Okay, we're going to get started. I know that there may be some folks that might be joining us a little late, but as I mentioned, we do have quite the packed agenda. I know it says my name right there. For those of you that I haven't met personally or don't know personally, the name is correct. I am Adam Pearl. I'm president and CEO of ArtPride New Jersey. I heard Emery laugh over there. So just want to welcome you. It's been a few weeks since we had our last update, so glad that you could join us. We have plenty of information that we want to share this morning. If you, for some reason, are new to our webinar or to the Zoom webinar features, just know that at the bottom we have our questions and answers, polls, and chat. And you can use those features both to ask questions and answers of the presenters today, and either we'll answer them live or reply back there. And the chat feature allows you to share something directly with the panelists too. But we're going to get started right away. I'm going to introduce Emery Miller, ArtPride's Director of Advocacy and Public Policy, who's going to start us off with the Arts Advocacy update. So you're up, Emery.
All right, thank you. So a lot has happened since our last webinar. The deadline to apply for Paycheck Protection Program was extended to August 8th. My understanding from a phone call yesterday with colleagues around the country and Americans for the Arts, there's $138 billion left in the PPP. So if you have time and can still apply, of course it depends on friendly banks, etc., but money remains. The extra $600 of weekly PUA on employment assistance is still set to expire on July 25th. I know that in New Jersey, unemployment has been extended a little bit more beyond that, but we're going to start seeing the effects of a termination of PUA very soon. Extra 20 weeks of extended unemployment for New Jersey workers. It's all dependent on exhausting all the other benefits. National Endowment for the Arts announced their CARES grants. These are the ones in addition to the ones that were previously announced through the State Arts Council. These were, a total of 855 grants were announced. 18 arts organizations in New Jersey received a total of $900,000, and those are the lucky recipients of $50,000 grants. It is also new that any NEA grants that are in existence for FY 19, 20, and 21, the match has been waived, and they may be used for GOS. So that's new as well. Other stuff in Washington. On Tuesday, this is big news. The House Interior Appropriations Subcommittee voted on the fiscal year 21 budget bill and proposed NEA funding at $170 million, an increase of $7.5 million over the current level. This matched the request of the arts advocates working towards that goal. So everyone's very happy about that. Of course, it has to go into conference committee, and a full committee vote is expected today. So related to Congress, ArtPride has this letter on the website, and perfect, I forgot to put the website link in there, but I'll put it in the chat box later. Today is the last day to sign on. This letter is only for organizations. If there are individuals that want to support a host of policies that will be helpful to the arts sector, there is an action alert that takes you directly to the Arts Action Fund to sign that letter. We have, I think as today, 96 arts organizations have signed on to this letter. It includes all sorts of policy recommendations related to expanding and extending PPP, and also the unemployment insurance, liability insurance, more money for the NEA, NEH, IMLS, etc. So if you haven't signed on, please do that today. We certainly would love to get over 100 organizations on that list. Adam and I both testified on June 25th in the state for the Assembly Tourism, Gaming, and Arts Committee. You can see the Zoom there. You can find me with my mouth open and Adam with a tie on. And in the second Zoom, it's really interesting to be able to testify this way. The committee listened very carefully, asked questions. We were able to get information out about how arts and tourism are affected by COVID. You know, I think we had a lot of receptive listeners at that committee meeting. As you all know, the New Jersey has a 3-month budget appropriation bill that takes the state through the end of September. There is a very, very limited budget for the state arts councils to keep them operational without any grant funding. And New Jersey state employees are now on furlough, I think at least through August, if I'm not mistaken. You know, that maybe you will hear from folks at the State Arts Council because they're so willing to communicate when they can get back to you the next day they're in, because it's limited, the amount of days that they are available per week. On the other fronts, the arts education, Arts Ed New Jersey released their September Ready report. The link is there for that. It's about getting ready, schools getting ready for arts education starting in September. If you are involved with arts education, please, you know, visit this guide. I believe over 130 arts professionals and educators were involved in pulling together guidance on this front. Also, Arts Ed Newark has an upcoming webinar on Tuesday related to intellectual property law in the time of COVID-19 with the Dodge Foundation and Pro Bono Partnership. And I think, you know, as we all start thinking about how we use technology during this time, you know, understanding the intellectual property law, this is a very helpful webinar. All right, so here is a slide of Kevin O'Brien with Joe Benincasa. This was taken a few years ago at the Kennedy Center as part of the Arts Action Summit. I can't remember who we saw for the Nancy Hanks lecture that night. Kevin will remember. And I was lucky enough to be there with them and take this quick pic. So my job is to introduce Kevin to you, who is our guest today. You know, I kind of want to say he's the guy who needs no introduction, sort of the way the governor does with the Commissioner of Health, but I will give you what Kevin is President Emeritus of Northern New Jersey's Theatrical Stagehands Local 632 IATSE. In June 2018, he was elected to the New Jersey-New York District IATSE Executive Board. He is currently the head theatrical and concert rigger at MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands. Kevin was appointed by Governor Corzine to the State Arts Council in 2008. He was elected second vice chair of the council in 2012. In 2018, he was appointed chair of Arts and Education Committee at the council and was assigned to as the council's liaison to initiatives linking the arts with tourism. He also serves on the council's executive and planning committees. Kevin is a commissioner on the New Jersey Motion Picture and Television Commission, serving as the Arts Council's designee to the commission. In 2017, Kevin was elected to the board of directors of the Mid-Atlantic Arts Foundation. He serves on the executive and investment committees of the foundation. He has been honored with the Meadowlands Regional Chamber of Commerce 2014 Man of the Year Award, 3 New Jersey State Legislature resolutions for service to the state, and the New Jersey United Labor Agency AFL-CIO as 2015 Labor Leader of the Year Award. So he is a true Renaissance man. Welcome, Kevin, and we're going to start your slides.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Emery, and thank you, Adam, for inviting me to kind of give you an update as to what we've been doing on the New Jersey Restart and Recovery Advisory Council. I want to thank the governor. I thank Governor Murphy for asking us to sit on that council from the IATSE and our union. As you know, on May 8th, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order 140, establishing the Restart Recovery Advisory Council. I've been serving on the Tourism and Entertainment Committee, and we're going on our 10th week now. I think we're supposed to be in session through August. We've had weekly Zoom meetings, and we're going to monthly meetings now as well. And we're going to continue sending all the information into him that we gather from the field. Our sub-chairman on the tourism, sub-persons on the chairpersons on the our committee was, our subcommittee was, is Chairman Jose Lozano, Tim Sullivan, the CEO of the Economic Development Authority, and Secretary of Higher Education, Zakiah Smith-Ellis. Next slide, Emery. As a member of the Subcommittee on Tourism and Entertainment, our role is to serve as a representative for the businesses and people within the tourism and entertainment sector. There are, I believe, 40 on that particular subcommittee, and we run the gamut of large venues, small venues, the Chamber of Commerce, tourism, hotel, horse racing, etc. Next slide, please. Our task has been to exchange and gather information and then to disseminate that to the governor's staff. We get our guidelines to the governor, which states that these are our recommendations, and then he can instill public confidence that the businesses are enacting safeguards and protocols to protect both their employees and the end consumer. Now we're going to look at the next 3 slides, and I think this is important to look at these slides in comparison to what's going on across the country versus New Jersey. Next slide, please. This was a McKinsey national survey that was done, I believe, June 12th, as of June 12th. And if you look at the national sample, a majority of the New Jersey respondents reported that they're highly likely to adhere to the safeguarding protocols over the next 6 months. If you look at that average versus the US, this reflects why New Jersey is still one of the 4 green states. And I don't seem to think, unless we backslide, that we're going to get any, we're going to deviate from these particular, this particular respondent survey. Next slide, please. This was a Rutgers University Research Center, and I believe that was done as of June as well. And if you look at the arts and entertainment only, 1/3 of the survey respondents are extremely concerned about customer confidence. Now, these are your thoughts about customer confidence coming back into your venues. What this tells us is that even if the arts venues could open today, there's still a hesitancy to dip our toes into the water. And if you look at those the bottom 2 columns, 38% are extremely concerned, 28% are very concerned, and that's a total of 66% that are concerned at all. And I think that's something that we need to bear in mind as well as we move forward. Next slide, please, Emery. This is I'm sorry, I apologize for the busyness of this slide, but what's important is the 4th slide from the left. Overall, New Jersey residents do not plan to resume most activities even after the stay-at-home restrictions are lifted. The sporting event and concerts, you can lump theater and performance venues in here as well. The darker shades in the center indicate a tepid response to attending events where there is a close proximity with other patrons. And when you take a look at it, that's a total of 59%. 23% say that once I see that most other people are using safety measures, I'll resume that activity. 10% say after most people in my community resume this activity, And 16% say once that I see that COVID-19 doesn't increase after stay-at-home restrictions are removed. So that kind of gives you a snapshot as to where we were in June. I don't have any updates yet, but hopefully we can share those with you when we get them. Next slide, please. As I said before, our input and the suggestions and the research, I've asked people from across the globe and in the state and across the globe. I've spoke to many large and small venues, theatrical lighting, sound, and scenic shops. They run the gamut of NJ PAC, the Bergen PAC, the Mayo PAC, Count Basie, Prudential Center, NJSO, the New Jersey Ballet, Surflight Theater, Paper Mill Playhouse, New Jersey Theater Alliance, Boardwalk Hall. And I've talked to international production managers and tours. And I think it's important that we get kind of a cross section of all of our performing arts venues, shops, because and the performers and the artists themselves, because everybody's affected here. This afternoon, I hopefully will be on a FaceTime call with one of our production people in the UK, who's he was supposed to be actually in the United States doing a tour right now in upstate New York. Hopefully I'll be able to sit with him this afternoon and get a little more flavor of what's going on in Europe. Next slide, please. Now, I'm going to give you maybe just 2 examples of what's going on in the field out there, how people are starting to rethink challenges and what everybody's using the word pivot and thinking outside the box. I had a phone call from New Jersey Symphony Orchestra. Susan Stucker wished to utilize some empty theater stages to video the NJSO for streaming use. Now, my research led me to the West Point Army Band, and their COVID-19 protocol and stage plot was something very interesting to look at. If you can see the next slide. You really can't see it too much, but there are plexiglass shields behind each orchestra member, similar to what we use on drummers right now. Next slide, please. This will kind of give you a 3D from looking at it from the audience point of view. This is what the West Point Band is using right now as their COVID-19 protocol. When they're in session, when they're rehearsing. Next slide, please. What you can't really see unless you really look close is there's microphones on each instrument, there's mics, and there are monitors in each surrounding orchestra member, and they have individual in-ear monitors or regular monitors, floor monitors to hear as well. So this is what West Point is doing right now with the Army Band, and I thought it was important for us to send down. I sent this down to our chairman and explained to him the situation was going on and wanted to see if we could get some feedback so we could help the NJSO do what they need to do right now. Next slide, please. Again, talking to some production people, they're starting to think in Europe right now, rethinking concert staging. Performers are beginning to start to adjust and rethink their staging and audience spacing. I don't have any particular examples, but I will show you one. Next slide. This is a typical arena stage layout, as you can see. There's the 180-degree line, so everything upstage of that line is black, and those seats then become the floor seats or general admission. Some of the performers are actually starting to think about going in the round. Next slide, please. Next, yeah, thank you. This is a Pearl Jam in the round setup. Now this isn't this isn't with COVID-19 protocol and socially distant, but you'll give you an idea of what could be done if we take some of the general admission seats out and some of the spacing that was upstage that was black and use that around the arena to try to social distance. These are ideas that are just cropping up right now across the globe, and people are starting to look at how to reinvent the staging right now until we get a therapeutic, which will bring me to my next slide. Now, there is hope, and in fact, I have a lot of hope in that there will be a vaccine, but if there is not, there's a lot of therapeutic research going on out there in science, and I'll take the next slide, please. It's interesting that one of the first phone calls I had was with one of our sound shops, and the owner of that shop, I have to give him credit, Jeff Shearing, sent me the updated technology that's been researched at Columbia University in New York about far UVC. Now, Columbia University has developed this technology referred to as far UVC, which is at the, I'm not a physicist, I'm not a scientist, but from what I've understood, the 220 nanometer end of the ultraviolet spectrum is supposed to be safer. According to the Columbia research team led by Dr. David Brenner, a professor of radiation biophysics, far UVC is supposed to be safer than regular UVC, which is currently used to sterilize medical instruments, operating rooms, etc. In fact, the MTA is using regular UVC in closed off subway cars overnight to sterilize. That was in the news just a few weeks ago too, to sterilize and disinfect their cars overnight so that they can be reused the next morning. Regular UVC is a 250 nanometer range, which is dangerous, and you can't expose humans to that range. However, far UVC, research has shown it does not cause cataracts, isn't cancerous, and can't penetrate skin. You can find that particular page on the Columbia University website. You can find it just by Googling Columbia University, COVID-19 research, et cetera, et cetera. Next slide. You can also find a YouTube video that has been, it was actually a webinar done by Dr. Brenner. The advantage of far UVC, again, as I said, it doesn't affect humans, but it kills the viruses and bacteria that are floating in the air. It's still awaiting FDA approval, possibly this fall. If this technology is found to be efficacious and safe, it could be a game changer. Far UVC light fixtures can be employed in a myriad of applications. They could be hung in the theater dressing rooms. They can be used over the fly grid. They can be used in the restrooms, the box office, the theater lobby, etc. So you can find this YouTube video and several others but by Googling or going on the YouTube and putting the COVID-19 David Brenner. That's pretty much it. Now, I sent that particular research study to our chairman to find out if somebody from the health, New Jersey Health Services can give us an update as to where the FDA sits on this particular disinfectant and therapeutic, whatever you want to call it. So at that, if I can, next slide should wrap it up. I want to again thank Adam and I want to thank Emery Miller for inviting me. I hope I've been able to give you a little bit of insight as to what we've been doing on our particular subcommittee. Again, I'm just one portion of it. There have been so many other people trying to get input into the governor's office so that we can all get back to the new normal, is what I call it. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you, Thanks, Kevin. When I saw your slides, I got really excited and knew it was going to be very interesting. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you. Thank you, Kevin. And Kevin, we did have one question for you that popped up during your presentation. It came from Nita Thomas at Carolyn Dorfman Dance, and kind of a dual question about the orchestra setup that you showed. And sort of in that setup, who's paying for those materials and the tech equipment for the orchestra? Is it the orchestra themselves paying? And then does it affect the sound?
I do not know who is paying. I'm assuming the Army. It's the West Point Army Band. I'm assuming that's definitely it.
But in the, and I guess you wouldn't know the answer to this. I guess the question would be, or it's an open question, would be if that kind of setup were to happen, would it be the venue? Would it be the orchestra? Would it be some sort of, combination?
Well, again, that's above my pay grade. I would assume that would be in the rider of the contract between the venue and the symphony orchestra.
And how does what's the word on what the sound is like in terms of does it affect the sound in terms from the audience?
I have not heard. I haven't got any feedback. I'm going to try to talk with one of the people up at West Point when I get the time sometime in the next week or so. I'm hoping to reach out to them to see if they've had any feedback on that end. It's a good question, and something that needs to be looked at.
All right, Emery, there was whenever you're ready, there was one question that popped up during your presentation too.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'm not sharing video today, so.
No, that's fine. So Tom Warder was asking if there's any movement to extend the PUA.
Yeah, it's in negotiation. What I'm hearing, however, is that $600, extra is being negotiated. If the idea is that as things open, there are people accepting unemployment rather than taking jobs. So I have, my gut feeling is that it's going to be less than that if anything does get extended.
Fair enough.
All right, so let's wrap up. Next week, we have, not next week, it's July 24th, the week after. I just give you some teaser on that webinar. You can sign up for it now. And what we're going to do is, as we've been looking towards recovery, ArtPride and the State Arts Council have been working together to develop a public value campaign that will be launched in July. And so you will get the heads up on it at this webinar. And it will help us keep the art sector in the public eye and in front of our decision makers up to the budget on October 1st and beyond. So please tune in so that you can get all the details on the campaign and learn how you can help spread the message about the importance of our arts community. I think you'll be pleased. We've had a core group of people through JAM working on this very, very hard, but really good minds coming together on this.
Yeah, let me say also too, thank you let me echo that, Emery, and saying thank you to the task force that's been working for the last 2 months on this. Jersey arts marketers, leaders from across the state, and other marketing folks, and arts council staff, and then all kinds of the ArtPride team, all kinds of people on the periphery, putting lots of time and energy in again. I want to also add here, because this has popped up a few times, it's my mistake. I should have mentioned it at the beginning, as I usually do. This webinar, the whole webinar, will be available to access via our website. It usually goes up later today.
Also, I want to remind everybody to go to jerseyartsevents.com so that you can stay on top of what's coming up. There's so much virtual programming happening right now. This is the best place to find everything that's going on around the state. I want to thank Kevin again for a really interesting presentation and for all his work on the Restart and Recovery Council. We really count on him, and I know John Schreiber's also serving with him on the council to really provide as much information as possible through their group and it's really important that they're included along with all the other sectors.
Emery, there was,
Nope.
sorry, spoiler
That's all
alert
right.
there. Sorry, I tried to catch you. There's a lot of, one more question here it says a lot of reopening measures are costing a lot of money up front. Is there a recovery package being discussed for political action, not political action committees, performing arts centers, PACs? Sorry, the abbreviation got me for a minute.
No, that's okay. A recovery package for performing arts centers. Okay, so a recovery package, not specific to performing arts centers yet, as that I'm aware of. I mean, we are really trying hard right now as we work towards the budget in October to see how much, if we can get CARES money, residual CARES money, and any money that might be coming forward from the federal level to the state that will help the industry in general as it tries to recover and supplement our economic recovery and the state's recovery. So I'm sure performing arts centers will be a big part of that. Understanding that the first to close, the last to open, etc. So they're always on top of everybody's minds. I guess no more questions. So, any more?
Yeah, there was one more. Here we go. It just popped up. Sorry. A possible future question. It may be the case that the number of workers we need will be reduced over the coming 15 to 30 months. What has been done to retrain staff who have been laid off or furloughed and may be needed over the coming months? So not so much a question, but yeah, but something certainly to think of as we look at policy beyond sort of the funding, the relief funding, and the funding of the next budget for sure.
Yeah, I also know that with reduced staffs and furloughs occurring right now, that there are many organizations that are really looking towards the future as sort of reconfiguring staff and doing business differently. There was a long period of time where everyone was trying to figure out how to redo what they currently do, and I think they've really gotten past that in terms of looking to the future as being really different than it was in the past. All right, last slide was our happy birthday, Sharon. Sharon's birthday. Sharon Harrington is our board chair at ArtPride, New Jersey. I hope she's watching. Her birthday is tomorrow, but she's also retired from the casino. Oh God, now I'm going to get it right. The New Jersey Casino Control Commission. I finally got it. She just retired last week, I believe, or the week before. So this is our happy birthday and happy retirement to Sharon.
And she's saying thank you. She's saying thank you in the chat that only we can see. But I just want to thank Sharon not only for being such a fantastic leader of our organization and of our fantastic board of trustees, but Sharon is a tireless advocate for the arts and is someone who is so well respected across the state and particularly in Trenton. And as Emery and I know to walk the halls when we were doing that and when we will in the future of the State House with Sharon, you can see that respect, and we're very, very lucky to have her as our leader. And congratulations on a really fantastic career.
All right, I think that's it. Jim, thanks Jim for running the show behind the scenes. Thanks again, Kevin and Adam. There's a quick poll about today's webinar. If you have ideas or people that you would like to see us have as guests, please let us know, because we will be happy to research all kinds of possibilities, everything that's helpful to you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again on the 24th.
Thank you, everybody. Be well.
Thank you.